Well, it's morning, it's currently about 20 to 7 and we're about to leave. Got backpacks packed up. We've had little tiny cups of Nescafe because there was a kettle and little sachets have been left out for us. And apparently there's a panaderia that's open already between 6:30 and 7 at least, so it should be open. And we might stop off there on the way. And then we're going to head off. There were quite evenly spaced stops today. So between here and Carrión de los Condes, there are 3 stops and they're each sort of even points. So I'm not sure at which we'll stop. We'll see how we get on. It's reasonably cool today, but apparently it's going to be quite warm. So I have dared to wear shorts. It's a lovely little cafe and bar, and they're serving Neapolitanas. I think Andrew's just getting those. We've had them heated up. He's going to bring them out. He's just paying too. And we have, enough for 4 people. Coffee. There was a minimum charge of €10, so we thought we'll just stock up. Even then, it may be not enough. But yesterday we managed to get cash out at the bank across the street and then thought we should have got more because we only got €100 and we may have to pay for one of the accommodations as well as having to pay for dinner last night with cash and various other things with cash. So we went to get more out and it wouldn't take my card. So today we tried here and the Santander gave me another €100, so now we feel like we need to make a run for it before they find out. Well, it's 7:15 now and we've joined the line of peregrinos. The lady up ahead with the orange backpack has a little gourd attached to the back of it, and I don't know why I haven't asked her yet. And she was asking me about my camera yesterday. She thought it looked very good. Well, that's where we're going, down that long road to the next town. So just walking past this, which is at the side of the road, and they're all little snails. So sometimes it feels more like a procession than a pilgrimage. There's a long line of us here and a lorry just drove past and beeped pretty much every pilgrim along the way. And he was waving to everyone. I could hear him quite some way into the distance still like beep beep, beep beep. There's an animal over there periodically making a rather strange noise. What is that? So it seems for some reason that today's soundtrack is, you know the way you just get a song in your head? I'm going along thinking, I want to scream, I want to shout, I want to sing till the words dry out. So put it in all of the papers, I'm not afraid. You can read all about it, read all about it. And then it goes round again. And I don't want to scream particularly, I don't particularly want to shout. I don't think I do. I don't think I'm particularly afraid, although I am a little afraid of getting an injury and not being able to carry on. At the moment, the backs of my heels are a bit sort of chafed, so I'm keeping an eye on that. But I'm not afraid. You can read all about it. You can't. Maybe you will at some point soon, but you can't yet. Read all about it. I wonder how long that will last. I keep seeing these backpacks wearing boots. Wouldn't have thought it was necessary. I have become the pilgrim wandering down the street going, you can read all about it, read all about it. Because there's nobody around. And it just feels nice, doesn't it? To stretch one's arms out. It's both arms when I'm not holding a camera. Do, 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 do. This is pretty. Huh. Those pilgrims ahead are making strange noises. Bless you. So we're taking an alternative route here. At the bottom of Calle Escuelas, School Street, although I'm thinking of it as Chicken Street. Instead of going straight on, which is the way most pilgrims are going, you turn right up here. And instead of following that main road to the next town, which is quite a long stretch, you follow a smaller road instead, and there's more shade. The first town that you come to is a little further on, but actually today that would suit us if we want to stop. We don't necessarily want to stop too quickly. So yeah, I think this will probably be better. I want to sing, I want to shout, I want to scream, I want to shout. You see, I just want to sing, that's why. Some days you just wake up like this. I don't know what's gone on with me today. I'm in a good mood. Time was the theme yesterday. I think today's theme might be singing and being ridiculous. It's the new variety of Andrew Bard, often to be found pointing a phone at various flowers. So yeah, the route we're taking goes to Villovieco instead of through Revenga de Campos. Revenga de Campos is a little closer. That's the one that you get to if you keep on the main road. Whereas here, Villovieco is a little further away, but still, I think it's 3.8 kilometres, so it's not far. There's a slight difference in distance between the two routes. This one is half a kilometre longer, but we think it's worth it because it's not on a main road. Why are there no other pilgrims? Why are they all walking along a road? A busy road. Except for those two ahead. Why? There must be a reason. Why do I think roads are boring? There's a question. They're not inherently boring, are they? They're probably quite interesting. There are lots of things on them. And yet we sort of, when you're reading a guidebook, it will say, oh, there's a long section by a road. And oh, not a road. How boring that would be. We don't like roads. We like this road though, because this is stony and not busy. There aren't many things on it. We're at one with nature. Maybe that's it. Roads just, we can't help but think that they bisect nature, and we don't like that really. They're useful, but who wants to walk along one of those? Not I. And another thing. Why is it that one can come out dressed for the cool, just about daylight hours in a down jacket with a fleece underneath it, and then it starts to get warmer. Why is it that one can still be like, no, I'm not going to stop and take it off though. Oh no, I might be hot in my down jacket and fleece now that the sun's up, but I'm not going to stop and take it off, because that would mean stopping. I'll stop to take a photo, but not to take off my hot down jacket. Oh no, I'd have to undo my backpack. Oh no, I will persevere. I am a pilgrim. I will be too hot. And I'm not going to stop. I'm genuinely not yet. Here's a broken water trough thing. I shall show you it. Little stone chat on the sign. Pretty sure it's a stone chat. These water channels are quite interesting, the way a lot of the fields have them. And so it goes all the way around and then along there. And then over here. See, there's another one. Cyclists are coming this way. They obviously don't like the idea of the main road. Or some of them don't, at least. Lots of stalks in the field. Well, by lots, I mean 4. There are 3 over there. And 2 over there. Not 2 over there, 1 over there. 3 and 2 makes 5. 3 and 1 though makes 4. Oh God. I guess it's a stubble field, and that's why there were lots of stalks in it. Pasture really though, isn't it? Well, little blue flowers in it as well. It's nice. I was in Latvia once and driving along, came to a field with a stalk in it and got out and took a photo because it was exciting. I'd seen some on the top of telegraph poles, but none in the fields. And then a short way further down, there was a field with 3 stalks in. So I stopped the car again and I photographed those. And then I went a little further on, there was a field with about 100 stalks in, and it just became ridiculous. There were more and more stalks the further along the road I went. You give up in the end. Given which, you'd possibly be surprised that I find them so exciting, but I still find them exciting. I mean, they're great, aren't they? Just doing what they do, being true to their stalky selves, completely separate from humankind and our strange preoccupations. Last night when I was going to sleep, I heard for a moment one of the stalks, probably one of the ones on the church tower, give out its rattling call. The call I heard one the other day give when it was sort of, I think, putting one of its chicks in its place, telling it something. I couldn't even begin to try and imitate the sound, but it's a rattling sort of call, as I say. Interesting sound. Anyway, I was lying there in bed and it made me smile. Pretty plants coming up. Andrew is going to zap them with his new app, but we think they're probably dog roses.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure they are. I mean, the leaves are very...
think we're coming into the next town, so we might stop here for some more coffee or something. Although actually I don't really feel as though I need to stop yet, so we'll have a look at how far away the one after this would be. I can hear a cuckoo.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's funny, you kind of get to the stage where you realise that there are things around you that have sort of become almost normal. And one of them is the constant sound of skylarks. I know I've mentioned it quite a bit. But they're just, I have this image of them like very slow geysers that sort of rise up. And they come from different places. And it's almost like you're walking through this invisible field of, or a field of invisible geysers. Like they sprinkle up from all around. It's not how I imagined the Meseta to be. We thought that the Meseta was going to be, and it could be that we still have this to come, particularly the Roman road section that we're going to do, which is another alternative route, which is supposed to be the most remote. But I imagined that it would be completely flat, that there would be more like hamlets rather than villages or towns. Greater distances between them, really. Few trees, because it says there's no shade. Well, there is no shade here, but there is just there. I didn't think there'd be so many tree lines. It's divided up. And so many colours. And I know, being here at this time of year, in spring, I knew it was going to be green and that there would be fields of flowers, but I didn't expect banks of flowers of different types. I thought there might be poppy fields. It's much more varied. And people talk about missing it out because it's, in summer, extremely hot. Yeah, I can see that. But uninteresting is a word I've heard used. There's a stork in that tower. So we've come into Villovieco. We're thinking we will stop here because if we go on to the next town, which isn't far away, that's the junction of this alternative route and the main one with all the pilgrims that have been on the main road. So I imagine the cafes there will be busier, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if there is one here, maybe it'll be quite special. On the other hand, we're heading toward the Plaza Mayor, which I imagine is the best option. There might be nothing at all. Nobody knows. Well, we certainly don't. We'll find out. Well, there doesn't appear to be anywhere to eat or have a drink even, but there are these birds and I'm not sure what they are. We're walking around the church. It's a lovely little church. Church of Santa Maria. Well, they're pigeons. There are two birds and they're quite white underneath and they have black markings on the tail and slight black markings on the wings. And when I looked through the binocular there seem to be very fine lines, but I think they're slightly pinky on the top, so I keep thinking, are they just kestrels? But they look paler underneath than kestrels normally, so I'm really not sure. And there were two birds that perched up on the tower that looked like doves, and then when they took off it was clear they weren't actually doves. So I'm a bit confused by them, but I seem to have now scared them off. Well, this one's for sale. Interested? Spanish number 979154063.
That's the kind of place that people buy and write books about it.
Yeah. That's where we needed to go. What do they have? Hot dogs, drinks. We could go and get a coffee. Looks rather nice. It's all outside. Should we go in? Villovieco, Parada de Peregrinos. So it is actually for pilgrims as well as for children. So all the pilgrims can go on the roundabout and on the climbing frame and on the swings. And we are now seeing pilgrims that we recognise and some that we've been talking to. So obviously some people did take this route. But they've just arrived, so perhaps they have some sort of different system for the day. Well, that was nice, Villovieco. Really nice little stop. Well, sí, gracias. The lady just there saw us walking down there and called after us and said, it's better to go down here. And there is actually a sign, and she said because we're heading toward the main road. And this is nicer. This is, of course, still part of the detour that we took. Yeah. She said it's shorter and it's not along a main road. But because we came out of the side entrance of that little cafe, we just thought we should carry on the way we've been going and miss this, which we would have seen otherwise.
I think there must be frogs calling.
We've been following the river, which is down to our right, and we're now approaching the next village, which is over there on the left, which is where we'll meet up with the route that followed the road. Well, this is a bit confusing because we've got to the point at which, according to the Buen Camino app, we need to turn off. But there's a sign up there saying to go straight on. Looking on the map, if we go straight on, we'll follow fields which will eventually lead us sort of quite a way out, and it's not an official alternative route, so, and yet it's clearly marked there. So I'm going to get to, yeah, there's a yellow sign saying down here too. I'm going to look again at the map because it could be that we are going to end up on a road and that is a way of avoiding the road, so I want to see what would happen. Just looking at the map, if we carry on down there. So we think that if we take this path, given that it is marked here with the blue and yellow sign, what it's doing, it will lead us slightly sort of two sides of a triangle, if you like. We'll have to do two sides rather than just one, but the one is along a road, and this will have more shade too and just be a lot more pleasant. And then I can see on the Buen Camino app that there was a pin at a particular point that's currently not working, in the, you know, a pin in the map. Normally when you click on the pins, information comes up, but on some of them now, they just don't work. So I'm guessing that when we get to the place where that pin is, we can take a left, and that will take us to the next village after this one. I think this one was called Villovieco. I'll need to look that up. I keep forgetting it. There's a myth associated with it because there's a church of St. Martin there, and there's a legend that apparently when the relics of St. Martin were brought to the church, the bells at the other church started ringing of their own accord. So the village we passed just now and didn't go into was indeed Villovieco de Campos, and the next village will be Villalcázar de Sirga. And that must be over those hills to our left at the moment. The poplars are singing. Peregrinos ahead. You can see the lady with the red backpack, but just around the corner is the lady with the orange one with the gourd on it, who I have now named the Lady of the Gourd. I'm just thinking again today, it's interesting the way, as you're walking along, you sort of have stretches where there's nobody ahead of you, and maybe there are people behind you, and then you have stretches where there are people ahead of you, and maybe there are people behind you as well, and then you stop, and as you saw back there, you know, you go in and there might be people that you don't know, and as you're about to leave, people come in that you do know. Maybe halfway through there are people that you know. And those two ladies that we just passed, we passed earlier on today. So we're thinking, well, we saw them come into the restaurant. They must have left ahead of us because we took a while. And now we passed them again. And that's what happens. I guess it's like through hiking of any type, that you get to see the same faces when you're doing similar stretches. And there's this sort of leapfrogging of one another at various points because everyone stops in different places and makes like different choices along the way, but very often then we congregate at particular points and everybody has their own pace, but you can be walking quite quickly and end up sort of bunching up with people who walk more slowly, but maybe you're stopping more or whatever. So not that the speed you walk at matters, just that it's interesting in terms of the effect it has on how you interact with other people. This is stunning. Every corner is a photograph. Andrew's photographing another plant. You may be wondering, or indeed you may not, has Lindsay still got that song in her head? The answer is yes. However, I've now realised that I did actually have the lyrics right to begin with, and then I modelled them up. I'm walking along with it in my head. So this is the Ermita de Nuestra Señora del Rio, the Church of Our Lady of the River, which is where apparently the bells started to sound when the relics of St. Martin were taken to the other village that I showed you not too long ago. Yeah, it's also the pin in the Buen Camino app that's no longer active that I mentioned earlier. So this is where I think we probably need to turn off. We'll go left and get back onto the road. Butterflies and all of those poppies. It's an absolute riot of colour. From certain angles, some things look confusing. Go right, go left. There are a lot of birds nesting in the holes in the facade. I've been watching them go in and out. It looks as though somebody's bought it. They're doing it up, maybe. So the conflicting arrows meant we were to go left on the road, but cross over onto this side. In case that wasn't obvious, it probably was. Buen Camino! The gentleman on the bike there. He's got music playing as he came towards us. He very cheerfully said, Buen Camino. So if you see videos of people wearing coats and long trousers like that, and you're thinking of coming here at this time of year, late May, and you're from, let's say, somewhere like England or the northern US, don't think you're going to need, on a day like today, all those layers. I'm guessing that person must be from a hot country like Brazil or, I don't know, South Africa, or, you know, we are seeing people from those countries and they tend to be wearing more layers. I suppose they're just accustomed to the heat, and it was cool this morning. I am currently in denial mode about the need to remove my fleece, which is a lightweight fleece. Finally parted with the down jacket when we stopped at the church before we had our little coffee break, and now I'm doing the same thing with my fleece. Is it too hot for this? Well, when we get to the next village, which is just here, it's coming off. And I'll put more sun cream on then. But the idea of wearing a coat, to me, an English person, Andrew's already got rid of his fleece. there's a supermarket over there and a nice cafe here. Café con leche y zumo. We got crisps and café con leche, zumo de naranja, and a lovely cafe inside where the camarero is wearing a La Casa de Papel t-shirt, of which I approve, and I told him so and he thanked me.
Buenos días.
Bueno, gracias.
Voy camino.
Gracias.
Es Juan Euro, si queréis visitar.
The village originally had a different name, and it became the current name because it actually means fortress, and they thought that the church built by the Templars was more like a castle than a church. And then the main altarpiece is dominated by Santa María de Blanca, which is the name of the cathedral. I was asking the lady about a story. I overheard part of it, but not all of it. She was saying that the Knights Templars, when they built this place, said that people will be condemned or will go to heaven based on their words, if they speak evils or if they speak well. But she was also saying that it's a place with very positive energy because there are subterranean waters underneath, and there is a history of people coming here and being cured. She says it's a shame so many people walk past and they don't come in. And this is the chapel where there's the well which was used by the Templars. And it's here that the water is supposed to have the most positive, curative energy in all of Spain. And that is a very special place. So we're just coming up to a well-known statue of a gentleman called Pablo Payo, and he was the manager of the restaurant during the 1980s when there was a resurgence in people being interested in the pilgrimage. Apparently it's a tradition to have your photograph taken here, so we're going to do that, I think. But here he is. This is so close to Carrión de los Condes that I imagine most people, certainly the first time, would want to stay in Carrión de los Condes. However, if you want a quieter stop, it's a lovely town here. And this Casa Rural albergue says there Tasca Don Camino Cafe. It's by that. The Casa Rural albergue open. And look at that lovely seating area inside there. You can see there were backpacks there. Some people have obviously checked in. There's a supermarket, really nice little restaurant in the square there. That fantastic church cathedral. Yes, Tasca Don Camino albergue. There you go. A cafe next door. So all the more reason for avoiding the road section earlier on is that this is all road now by the look of it to Carrión de los Condes. It's 6 kilometres and we're going to be next to this most of the way, I think. And then all of a sudden a view opens up. Also, there was a very large bird flying way off and couldn't make out what it was. It's not impossible it was an eagle. Would be nice if it were, but can't say. It was a long way away. And we stopped to look at it for a while. I can't imagine what today must feel like if you part of the group that decided to just walk on the main road earlier on. Would have been a long, long stretch of this all day. The new fashion, it's the asymmetric shell. First view, I think, of Carrión de los Condes. I was interested in the name Carrión de los Condes. Condes, of course, means dukes, basically counts, as in the Count of Monte Cristo. Alonso Carreño took it from the Moors sometime between the late 1700s and the mid 1800s, not 1700s, sorry, 700s, 791 thereabouts AD and about 842 AD. And then he changed his name from Alonso Carreño to Carrión. So I guess it comes from that and doesn't predate that. I don't know who the counts were. Maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. There's another interesting mural on the side of this wall. So we're going this way. Our hostel for tonight. Again, we've got a private room. I think it's relatively central. But it's along here before we get right into the centre, so we'll probably be stopping there before we actually see any of the town. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it isn't. I think sometimes when you've got an idea of the feel of a place, you feel that you're fully there. When you're sort of relaxing in your room, you can plan what you're going to do. And at other times, it's nice to just stop before you're in the town, and then you can rest and so on. And when you go into the town, you stay there without sort of popping back to the room all the time. This is called Avenida de los Peregrinos. Hola, de nuevo. Well, it seems our hostel is just there, up this street. So that's actually quite central. It's right opposite the church. And it's funny, some of these places I booked right after we'd finished the last section of the Camino. And I know I tried to make good decisions about where to position us. Some of them I'm now looking up and I'm thinking, where are we? Where on this map? There's a lot of Carrión de los Condes which continues sort of in the direction that these people are walking and that we're walking. But this church is kind of pretty central really in terms of the old part and the things to see. So we're here, Hostel La Corte, right opposite the church. I think we might continue a little bit and get a drink somewhere. Our hotel is just here, and next door is the Pilgrim's Oasis store, and it's got all sorts of outdoor clothing and equipment and anything that you need replacing, you can get it here. It's opposite the church. So we're going to try what to us is a new type of Magnum, almond remix. Well, we're sitting at those tables just there, and it's a nice little spot. Everyone seems to have passed now, but that was part of the point, that it was a really good spot for people watching. Loads of pilgrims went past. We were sort of letting on to them all. People that we knew at least, some that we don't, that we've not seen before. It's a nice little spot. So we're going into the hostel now. So this is our room at the Hostel La Corte, which is right opposite the church. My extra pillows. And then we have this balcony. And it is really central. It's like right opposite. The church is particularly interesting here. That's the cafe where we passed all the pilgrims on the way in. And they have a restaurant with a courtyard outside, and they start breakfast at 6 o'clock, which is really good, because if you want to get an early start, that's not common. So yeah, and it's costing £40, just over £40.90 something for the night. Well, we're now walking around again, and we've just been into that outdoor shop, and I've got, gosh, it's got a bit bright round this corner, hasn't it? I've got these, because they're tiny, tiny little carabiners, and I'm hoping that the way I've rigged up my backpack so that I can pull the sides in. At the moment I have carabiners that are the size of that larger one, And the problem is that sometimes the little toggle thing slips through it. So these little tiny ones, the toggle won't slip through. So I think it's a good solution. And that was like €5.90. It was really not very much. Andrew's on a mission to find food, and there's a nice deli in there. So maybe we'll have a look in there now. Got more supplies there. It's not just souvenirs, they've got walking poles and t-shirts and all sorts of things. And this is the main, sorry, I'm just eating a fly. Main square. Town hall there.
Do you know where the other church is?
So it says this is the birthplace of Brother Miguel de Benavides y Anoza, who was born in 1552, died in 1605, and he was the first Archbishop of Manila and the founder of the University of St. Thomas of Manila. Anyway, I thought this rather an interesting street. We just walked up it. In here, it seems to be a place that the locals like. More eateries down here, and then lots of nice little shops. We've just been in here, a shop called El País, which is a bookshop, but they sell lots of stationery as well. So Andrew was lacking a pencil. He's left his pencil somewhere, so we got one in there. There are lots of facilities here, clothing shops, jewelers, that's a children's toy shop, they sell handbags. Big town. I'm quite, in a way, I mean, I knew there was a lot to see here, but I'd been told that the same was true of Frómista, and I found there was a lot less in Frómista. Whereas here, there really is a lot. It's a nice place too, it's got a nice atmosphere. Another shoe shop. So we're talking about going into the churches, but for now we've stopped at the square and we've got patatas bravas and a drink each. So yeah, it's 6:30. 29 degrees according to that thermometer. We're heading back towards the Santa Maria church because that's where we'd need to buy tickets to go into either of them. Andrew just got a hat in there to protect his head from the sun. He didn't really want a hat, but I've talked him into it. Because I think when we do the Roman section, we're forecast for really hot weather. And I know how much I like my cap. So, but you did agree in the end, did you not? It's a buff hat, it's quite trendy, I think. This is the building next door but one to our hostel. I don't know what that shield is, but it's quite quite impressive. Well, we went into the church of Santa Maria. It's not a huge church. There's an exhibition in there all about the Virgin Mary, but we weren't allowed to film in there. So, and there's a ticket that you get for both. So we're now going into the other church, which is part of it, which is just around here, in fact. I won't be able to film in there either, but this is an exposition about the ages of man. We've come out of the two churches, and the exhibition was like nothing I've seen before. It was largely sculptures, but also some paintings, and the theme was the Virgin Mary and the birth of Christ and all of the Bible stories around that. A lot of the sculptures are of a type that you see in churches, and I've never really thought all that hard about them as art. And I became increasingly aware of how there was a 12th century, no, 13th century, so 1200s sculpture, which was actually anatomically not far off quite accurate. And yet next to it, paintings where, you know, the ability of people to paint the human form was still a long way off realistic. It seemed quite striking that we were able back then to represent people so well in 3D. So I took that away from it, and just the accumulation of the theme I found very interesting and moving in many ways. So after that, we then went to this shop here and chose some lunch to take with us, possibly for tomorrow, possibly for the day after, because we don't know quite what we're going to find in the places that we're going on to, and things for breakfast just in case as well. And I think also Andrew rather enjoyed going around the deli. We've got some quite fancy cheese and some slices of chorizo, which is specifically from a pig that eats truffles. I had a chat with the lady about it. And now we're sitting outside this restaurant here, and Andrew's ordered the menu of the day, and I've ordered a Caesar salad and some patatas bravas. Well, Andrew has peas and ham, and I have patatas bravas, which are very different to the ones I had earlier, and a Caesar salad, which, just to give you an idea of the size of it, that's my Caesar salad, and compare that with what you get in England. I think that we have some improvements to make. So the restaurant is just up from the Santa Maria church, heading towards the Plaza Mayor. It seems really good. It was the lady at the deli next door, Granel, that recommended it to us, and she said that we could sit outside and that everything's homemade. With the second course of the menu of the day, they don't really scrimp on the sizes. It's a raspberry mousse. Got lots of other pilgrims gathering around now. We've been chatting to them. So we're just heading back to our hotel, or hostel I should say.